All right, let's go. Testing, testing. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming. Make sure you hit the like button and also share this out so other people can figure out who these dope people are within the gaming community. But let's move forward. This gentleman loves gaming. He started out as a PC gamer, moved to SNES, Sega Mega Drive, and now does pretty cool stuff with his PC and his consoles, which is called streaming, obviously. But moving forward, he also has a YouTube channel that you should check out. It's fantastic and it's definitely growing. So be part of that train. Hop on with him. But you may have also seen him on other channels as well, such as Double Barrel Gaming. He's been doing that for quite some time. Really awesome show. But with further ado, let's welcome our guest, Wandering Dutch. How are you doing today, brother?
Awesome, brother. And yourself? It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you here. I'm really happy to do this today. And by the way, to answer your question, I'm doing fantastic. But what time is it now for you?
It is literally just gone midnight, so it's 0001.
Ooh, you see, folks, this is why I did an earlier show, because I ain't trying to disrespect the man's sleep. Everybody needs it. Whether he actually goes to sleep around this time is a different story, but I'm going to respect it the best way that I can. What's up, chat? By the way, I see you, MWMU Studio, or Studios. I'm sorry. And then General C in the chat, Stuffed Sean. What's up, everybody? Good to see everybody here this evening. But anyways, Brother Dutch, what kind of social media and gaming platforms are you on so people can check you out, see how you're doing, or play a game with you or whatnot?
Yeah, so I am literally on everything. So I'm on Steam if you want to play with us on PC. I'm on Xbox if you want to play with us on Xbox. I'm on PlayStation. I'm on Nintendo. You name it, I'm on it. Pretty much everywhere you can find me at Wandering Dutch, including on YouTube and on Twitter. And it is Wandering Dutch Mods on Instagram. But we do have the Midweek Mix-Up page on Instagram as well, which is hosted by one of my panel members, Pat. So you can find us literally on everything. We haven't done TikTok, and I will not do TikTok.
Yeah, me neither. It's just not appealing to me. I'm good. I'm good. I'll get content out in several different ways. And I need to actually expand my content to more areas like Spotify and stuff like that. But TikTok is just something I just can't bring myself to do it. Yeah. But please tell me a little bit more about the thing that you were just mentioning with the weekly roundup and stuff like that. Explain what that is.
Yeah. So of course, with the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, we've got a midweek show every Wednesday that does the larger gaming news. So big topics, spend a little bit more time on them, and obviously have big guests on the midweek show. That can range from developers to senior directors of hardware to support staff, or even just community members and creators. Then we've got the weekend show as well, which is almost 10 episodes in now, which is wild to see because it feels like everyone just started that. But got the weekend show on a Sunday, which is called the Weekend Edition. And that literally rounds up every little bit of gaming news from the week. So we don't spend as much time on every topic. We kind of just whittle it down and just say, right, okay, what have people missed? These are the littler topics, and if something big appears, then we'll discuss that as well. But it's mainly just to make sure everybody's kind of caught up with the week's gaming news, and then sometimes even talk movies or films or anything to do with that, if it's kind of gaming related or even just Marvel or DC related or anything like that. Just have some fun. Much more of a relaxing show on that one. So two big shows.
So that's a midweek mix-up.
Yeah.
MWMU.
Yes.
Got it. Perfect. So I want to know, what has Mr. Wandering Dutch been playing lately?
Well, that's an easy one.
I feel like this is like the third week of me asking and knowing the answer. But you know what? I feel like when we go, or at least when I go back to look at the history of these shows and whatnot, it's always fun to see the game that's popping. And for weeks in a row, I'll be seeing, when I go back to look at my history, Elden Ring, every freaking episode. So I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that's what you're playing.
To be honest, I've got severe gaming ADD though, so I'm always playing like 4 things. Elden Ring's had the attention more than some other games recently, but I've also been playing a few other things in between. So I've been playing a bit of Guardians of the Galaxy. I resisted the FOMO when that came out. Didn't jump on it immediately. I was playing quite a few other things as well when that came out. So,
well, you won that fight, didn't you?
Yeah, I won that fight big time. So, so now I'm playing that in Game Pass, which is awesome. What else? Been playing GT7 as well on PlayStation. Of course, there was some not so great news today about kind of things, the credit system, etc. on that. But the game itself, I mean, the game performs well, it runs well, it looks okay. And we've been playing some multiplayer with another one of the panel, Erwin, which has been awesome. Of course, Elden Ring, which I've been playing a lot of, and I've been playing a little indie game as well, which is going to be part of the indie showcase that we're doing in April, called 100 Bullets, which is a cool little game. It sounds a bit strange. It's imagine kind of like a Space Invaders, but instead of fighting asteroids, every one of the bullets that you fire when you're in, you have to move, and the bullets only fire when you move. Every one of the bullets that you fire can damage you, not the other way around. So you've got to try and dodge your own bullets. And then
that does sound, yeah. You got the reaction you were looking for right there.
Yeah. It's quite awesome, and obviously the stages change. So when you've completed a new stage and you go to the next one, and it changes completely, and then it gets new mechanics, and then everything it can either like speed up the bullets or deflect them off something or teleport them to another part of the map. And you've got to survive getting past 100 bullets for the set time whilst continuing to move all the time. If you stop, then it stops and it doesn't fire any bullets, and therefore it doesn't go anywhere, and then it resets until you keep moving again. So you have to always be moving. So it's a very interesting little indie game, but it's always dodging between, like I say, 3 or 4 titles at a time. So my attention span, I'm like, I'll look, even though I'm loving the game, I'm like, I need a break, and I'll just change to something else.
Yeah, Elden Ring's actually been really has a hold on my neck right now.
Yeah.
Right now, I've peeled about 4 of the fingers off of my neck, and I'm almost released from it. Right now, I'm at the very end of the game, fighting the Elden Beast. It's a pain in the ass. I'm getting wiped all over the place, and like, part of me says, bro, just put it down and play something else. And the other half of me says, you can't end it like that. You can't end it like that. You got to go in there one more time. And every single time is one more time.
Yep.
You know,
that's what it was like for me the other day. We had, I did a stream grinding for Godric. It was only meant to be maybe a couple of hours, 3-4 hours. Almost 7 hours later, I was like, okay, this went on a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah, it accelerates fast. Fast, and time flies when you're playing that freaking game.
Oh yeah,
it's insane. But there's plenty of people talking about Elden Ring right now. Let's move on to something else. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you were really big into computers. Now, what kind of computers were you big into back in the day?
Yeah, so originally it was PC gaming, and it was my father that got us into PC gaming as well. He was another big nerd, a big tech head. So he wanted the latest and greatest of everything all the time for the PC. So he ended up essentially getting all of the old Voodoo graphics cards, the GFX 3000 or 2000 or whatever it was, and essentially anytime there was a new graphics card, he would get it. Anytime there was a new processor, he would get it. Of course, the cases back then were nothing to be desired. There were them horrid, like beige grey type of creamy colored computer cases.
There was no glass on the side of the panel. Yeah. You're right. It was just boring looking.
Boring looking, really boring looking. Floppy disk drives, and specifically because there was even a lot of games back then that was still installed by a floppy disk. Obviously, then eventually upgraded, got PC, the CD drive, and then with him traveling a lot, he used to get a lot of illegitimate games, let's say. Some discs that have been rewritten, but even then the copyright thing was lacking big time way back then. There was absolutely zero copyright protection on video games then, and you could literally just copy it straight from one disc to another. So it was really easy. But he would go to a market over where he was working. He will always work away as well internationally, so there was this market near where he worked, and he used to come back home when he returned home with literally a giant brown box full of CDs, all the newest, latest and greatest PC games, literally hundreds of them, hundreds and hundreds. So never a shortage of games to play, whether that be Age of Empires or the newest Flight Sim or Combat Flight Sim or any of the click and play adventures or Heart of Darkness and Little Big Adventures and Blade Runner. And so yeah, it was always started off PC gaming and computers, and that's where I got into to the tech side of things and building computers and things in the first place as well.
Dude, like let's quickly brush over how popular flying games were back then.
Oh god,
like,
yeah.
They were insane. It wasn't just Top Gun on NES and stuff like that. Like, if you go back then with computers, they had the name of like a jet, and they just called it a game, and you just fly around as that jet and just take down enemies. And it was pretty much like the PC version of Ace Combat, except there's like pretty much no story at all. You're just going around taking people out. And they were fun, but very repetitive. But I feel like that genre really fizzled out without anybody even caring.
Yeah, it did. It went from, there was at one point, so on PC for the flight sim, or even combat flight sim kind of games, you had Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator, you had Jane's Attack Squadron, you had Il-2 Sturmovik, Ace Combat, and then you had a myriad of other combat flight simulators
like F-15 and like
F-15, exactly.
There was and they were literally those big old box cases, and it just have the jet on the front of it with the name of it, and that was the game.
That was it.
Simple.
It was always like the modern combat flight sims were always the ones with zero story, and it was just go and shoot down planes and then land again. And it was only the literal World War II simulators that happened to have some kind of story. So it wasn't even stories. It was just at least they had missions. So you would like... It was like a history.
It was like a quick little history heads up, and then you go into a simulated battle of something similar.
Like a bombing run, or go and protect these bombers or something like that. That was as close as you got to a story in a flight sim.
For sure. And it hasn't really changed a whole lot.
No.
You look at Flight Simulator right now, you are taking off and landing.
Yeah, it's definitely niche. I mean, the one thing you can definitely say though is the sheer size of that game is just astronomical. It's just insane what they've managed to do with that, or how they've managed to do that in the first place. To be able to literally fly from one end of the planet to the other in real time, and it having to take real time to get there, is bonkers.
Yeah, and if you're playing it right, you gotta be checking on your gas, you gotta check on your height, you gotta check on, what gear you're using at what times and weather and how to compensate, and then landing, you gotta land certain wind directions, and like it's not just go in the sky and hit and then go to the road. It's a lot of stuff to figure out. And even if you play on an easier mode, you'll still be surprised on how hard some of this stuff is.
Yeah. Specifically, if you set that weather to extreme, and you're going through big thunderstorms and snow showers and heavy side winds and things like that, and trying to land, you're still going to go way off.
Oh yeah,
way off.
Yeah, it's all fun and games once you take off and get in the air, but then it starts to get a little rough after you get in the air. Start figuring some stuff out. You're like, oh damn. And some of those flights, you forget like how long it takes to get somewhere sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because I set a travel from my old home city, Lincoln, Nebraska, to Denver, Colorado, and I was like, oh, I'll just take a smaller jet, not anything too big. Man, that shit still took me like 4 hours to fly, and I was just like, man, I thought this was a video game. This is totally a simulation. 100%. I forgot how that felt because I didn't play Flight Simulator since '98 beforehand.
And let's have a look at the achievements they put in that game as well. Have you seen the achievements?
I looked at the achievements and I was like, I'm good. I'm good. You guys set this for the niche crowd that are willing to do that.
There's only one set of achievements that I've managed, like one proper set of achievements I've managed to get on there, and it's so I do, where I live now is Newcastle in the UK, and where I did live was just outside of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So the flight time from here to there is around about an hour, give or take. But there's an achievement for taking off and landing. I think it's over 200, 300 miles or something, taking off and landing within that space or that distance, in a jet plane, in an airliner, and in a prop, a single prop. Obviously, the airliner, that's fine. That takes like less than an hour. The jet, probably about an hour, and then the prop, you're talking about 3. So
going like 70 miles an hour in there.
Get there eventually.
Just because you're in a plane doesn't mean you're going fast.
No, definitely not. No.
All right, bro. Well, so I was asking you all that just to kind of wonder at what point, through you playing the PC, and then like, actually, let's enter into this SNES and the Mega Drive. Like what caught your eye with that? Because now we're talking about consoles. We're not talking about a PC anymore. We're not talking about ripping discs.
Yes.
Nintendo and Sega were both absolutely on top of making sure, these things can't be, remade and sold somehow. Nintendo went above and beyond, especially down the years when they got to the GameCube. That was insane. But anyways, going back to that time, like what caught your eye about that kind of got you off of the PC and more onto the console?
So it was I think it was weird. It was going because it was the uncle that had the NES and the Mega Drive and things like that, and it was going to essentially after school, going to his house, and he'd have them hooked up under the TV, and it was just like, well, what games have you got? He's like, oh, well, we've got Sonic and Echo the Dolphin and Mario, and so I think I spent more time it's from memory. I definitely spent more time playing Sonic and Echo the Dolphin than I did on the Nintendo at the time. I was definitely more of a Sega fan.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and it as much as I liked Mario, I think my Nintendo phase was more when we go a little bit further out and talk about the original Game Boy, because that was then the Nintendo phase, like the home console thing. The Nintendo when I was at the uncle's, that had never made me want to get the Super Nintendo. The Mega Drive, on the other hand, that was a different. Like I loved Sonic the Hedgehog. I loved Echo the Dolphin. Like those games, I could just play it all day, every day, and it was the music, like the classic Sonic soundtrack that you got all the way through, and then
it was jamming. It was jamming.
Yeah,
like
and
each
I remember
level.
being so much better on it as well than I am now. Like when I try to play Sonic now, I'm so bad.
Well, I feel like you have a different mentality, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You had a different mentality back then when you played games. Like now you play a game like Sonic, you play something on the Nintendo, you lose or something, and you're just shrugging your shoulders. You're just like, well, whatever. But back in the day,
yeah,
like I mean, you were playing games like people were playing Elden Ring right now. Like,
oh yeah,
dead serious, hard grinding, beating it over and over and over, especially because you didn't really have a choice.
yeah.
Most people can only afford so much stuff. There was no Game Pass. There was
no saves.
Yeah. There was no saves either. So it was like, all right, I'm sitting down and I'm gonna beat this game tonight, and I'm gonna have to start all over unless you decided to keep your console on all night.
Yeah,
which I'm guilty of.
yeah.
But that's just how you had to do it back then. And the passion for those kind of games were there, but now our passion has moved on to much bigger things.
Yes.
And those older games, now they're more arcadey for us. They're more of a touch and go than a touch and hang out for a while.
Yeah. Completely agree. It's definitely moved on. Like you say, what were AAA games back then now are very much retro and relatively small in scale. Like we can play them for a little bit and then you're like, right, okay, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, like the games we've got to choose from is just wild. It's a completely different ballpark now.
Yeah, they're very immersive, and this really, and it's crazy that like we're this strong on games right now because they're only going to get more insane and more intense, more immersive, and they're going to be hard to not be able to play anywhere. You know, I feel like this cloud gaming thing is really cool, but it's kind of a step to something else, possibly, because not everybody, and let's be real, like not everybody has internet that's going to be, you know, sustainable for cloud gaming for large amounts of time. When you go out into the country, and I was telling Loke this because my partner that's on the show as well, he lives in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Mozambique, Africa. And he doesn't get the best internet, so he's like thumbs down on the Stadia, and I don't really care that much about Xbox cloud gaming and stuff like that. But like if they can figure out a way for you to download your game onto a device, and maybe you have to check in like every 24 hours or something like that online just so it can update like your progress, achievements, yada yada yada. But to be able to have something where I can go in like to a remote island or go on the highway where there's no service and not have an interruption in my game, that's the people that I'm sticking with. And right now Nintendo's doing it pretty good, but what kind of sucks about them is if you're sharing your like I share my name or my profile or whatnot, so my lady can play on her Switch. So her Switch is the main Switch, but my Switch isn't. So whenever I leave town or something like that, I got to go online and have it checked to make sure that I own the game and all that jazz. It's annoying, but the thing is once I got it going, Xbox can do something like that, PlayStation or whatever, I'm sold. because I really want to play stuff like Dying Light and Elden Ring on the go when I'm out of town. I don't want to lug my Series X around. I don't want to lug that PS5. That thing's big. I ain't trying to pick that shit up.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, though, the Series S and that new X screen.
Ooh, yes. Now that is something I think I could deal with lugging around because there's a screen on it, a big screen.
Yeah.
Bigger than my phone, at least, you know.
Oh yeah, most definitely with speakers, and it only needs your plug. It doesn't need any other cables other than the power plug.
Yeah, it's real nice. I seen the video that Boom had on it. It's really nice. Definitely something to get if you have a Series S and you're a person that likes to travel or whatnot. But for somebody like me, I'm okay with playing on my phone. I'm cool with that. I just want to know that I'm not going to get disconnected when I walk 10 steps to the left.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
But going a little further, so those got you really big into gaming. Continue a little further. So what was the next round like? Because, you know, after that, there was this N64, PlayStation, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you gravitate to any of those?
Oh, yes. So we had the N64. We had Super Mario 64. We had pretty much everything, GoldenEye and all of the N64, the biggest titles that you could get on that thing. We got it. Still never, even to this day, I think I've got an N64 pad somewhere. I still don't know how we used that controller. I've got no idea how I used that controller. I can't even remember how I used, like, the weird, it's got 3 things to hold on to type of mentality with a camera in the middle. Gee, I don't know how or why Nintendo came up with that controller, but never mind. PlayStation 1. Really big into PlayStation 1. Used to have one of those old small TVs with a VCR thing underneath it.
Oh, like it was just like that one kind of thing?
Like that, yeah. It was a grey one. Probably that one, to be fair. And had the PlayStation 1 on that, and used to come in from school every night. And at this point, it was in secondary school. Used to come in from secondary and play. At the time, I was fixated on all of the Final Fantasies. So it was going on to Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and literally, and I've played 7 through God knows how many times, the OG Final Fantasy 7. Pretty much every ending, beat all the weapons, the ruby weapons and things like that, all the materias, the hidden characters. Literally played 7 to death. 8 was okay. I still remember the beach landing scene on 8 and loved that. And then going into Final Fantasy 9, which happens to be my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. I just thought the story was a bit better than 7 as a whole. The character building was better in 9. That's controversial, but loved PlayStation, the PlayStation 1. I spent countless amount of hours on that thing. And that also got me into Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, Medieval. And then those were also still the days of the PlayStation magazines where you used to get demo discs all the time. So you'd love going to the store and picking up the latest magazine, getting the latest demo disc, just to have something else to try and play and see what one you could spend your pocket money on to go and buy next year. So, yeah, God, some big memories there. Loved the PlayStation.
Yeah, that was a fantastic console. I used to buy some what do you call them? Like overseas games or like import games.
Yes, yeah.
I used to get some import games, and I had to put a spring inside of my PlayStation because, you know, when you hit the open button, the disc would still be moving because the spring would be holding down that switch that tells the console that the tray is shut. And I'd have to take out the Game Shark type CD or whatever that transferred it to me, and then put in Dragon Ball Z Final Bout or Ultimate Fighter 22 or something like that, and then I'd shut it, and then it'd be like thank you, and the whole game would be in Japanese and everything like that, but I could play it on my PlayStation that was a United States PlayStation, or you know, that region. So I thought that was amazing because I had never experienced import games or anything like that. And I went and bought that game thinking, oh, it's a PlayStation game. I was just a kid at that point. I didn't know any better. I popped it in. I was just like, when I bought it, I was like, this case looks different like than the rest of my PlayStation games. It looks nicer, actually. It looks clean. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Popped it in, told me it couldn't work. And I was like, damn. And there was no Google to just hop on and be like, what's going on with this game real quick. I had to go talk to the people at the game store, and they're like, no, you're going to need he's like, I wonder why you bought that. I was going to say, you need a import transfer kind of thing. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Like let me get that. I'll come get that next week when I get my allowance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Hold that back in the store for me, as if somebody's gonna buy it. But all right, so those were kind of those are the legs that you stand on when it comes to gaming, though. It looks like so you had really strong feelings for the Sega, the Nintendo, N64, and PlayStation, like that really got you into the consoles. Now let's jump to now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you all playing on now when it comes to different consoles and stuff like that?
Yeah, so right now I have a gaming laptop. I prefer laptops over PCs. I would, again, in terms of actually spending on PCs now, as you know, the costs of things that went through the roof, and getting parts is ridiculous. So cost effective, it was just get another laptop. So I've got a brand new gaming laptop with the RTX 3060 in it. So that does the gaming side of things on PC. I've got the Xbox Series S hooked up to the streaming section I've got here. The Xbox Series X on the big TV back there. PlayStation 4 Pro beside it, and the Nintendo Switch above the TV. And of course, mobile. For any kind of other streaming on mobile, whether that be Stadia or anything in between. But yeah, I am covered
Stadia?
from all angles. I've played Stadia a bit. I did cancel my subscription.
Oh, damn. May I ask why?
Yes. Stadia's it was okay. In terms of its performance, it was relatively decent, but in terms of their overall game plan long term, they pretty much pulled out, and they were just saying, we're just going to let third parties deal with it. And then the support got less and less, to the point now where Stadia is more of an afterthought by Google. They don't really care about it anymore. It's kind of there, but not quite. We'll give a few free games every now and again, but if you haven't got your own studios focused on working on anything for it, it's just a kind of side project and not something that's really going to grow. So it wasn't worth continuing to pay for that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, and that's what I kind of thought. That's why I was never really that interested in getting it, because I was just like, feels like a third-party machine, like you don't really get anything special by being with them. And this generation, I'm in like the sense of I don't want to miss any platform that's going to be able to give me a solid set of games, right?
Yeah.
Stadia just wasn't it. And I seen controllers going for sale for very cheap. And that's the whole console, is pretty much the controller and a dongle. Right? Yeah. So I seen that and I was like, man, that's cheap. I could add it to my collection. But then I was thinking, it literally wouldn't move if I bought it. Because I don't see myself paying for that subscription. It just doesn't sound very enticing, especially with me paying for Game Pass already. And then Spartacus announced, what they're doing. So it's just like, there's just no room for you, Stadia. I'm sorry.
Well, like I say, that they stopped being appealing when they announced that they were cancelling all first-party studios and shutting them down. As soon as they said that, then there is no point to Stadia, because it just becomes a streaming service for those who don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox, and that's it. If you don't have those and you don't have a really powerful PC, then maybe get it. But then you could still get Game Pass, and probably in the future Spartacus. In which case, you can probably do streaming on your phone or on your PC using either of those, and then you'd still save money. So I think it's just eventually I can see Stadia just disappearing entirely. I just don't see how it's going to continue to have enough people to justify keeping the servers running.
I know right now they're talking about like rebranding and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how you rebrand after you get rid of your studio.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
How do you make yourself look good again unless you're? And see, I'm thinking maybe they're thinking about teaming up with somebody, something like that. Like, because as you said earlier, their actual quality of the way that they bring you the game and present it is fairly good. Like it works just fine. It's just it doesn't have anything of content that keeps you interested. So if they were to team up and bring those tools to somebody else, that might be a game changer.
Oh,
and I'm kind of curious what they mean when they say rebranding after getting rid of a big piece of their puzzle. But moving on. I kind of wanted to know, with your past in all these games, and you're now in gaming, and we talked a little bit in the green room about this. I want you to tell me like what kind of got you into content creating, because you game a lot, you love that and whatnot, but that doesn't always translate to wanting to talk about it to random people all over the place and meeting folks. And I mean, look, we're talking from 2 different continents. So what got you into being willing to do something like that?
So I've always been a very social gamer, always loved the multiplayer aspect of gaming. So I used to always party up and end up in these mad kind of parties with people that I'd never spoken to in my life, and then end up being friends with them. And obviously there's a lot of, if we're going back to even when we're playing Halo or Gears online, and ended up with just a 2v2 with one of my friends, and then ended up speaking to the opposite team that we were playing and becoming friends with them. I've always been very much a social gamer when it comes to that. So when I'm talking about the podcast itself and getting into content creation, it was actually meeting my panel members playing games and on Twitter, and talking about video games and talking about Forza and talking about Halo and all of the things in between, and then hooking up in party chats and playing on Xbox together and just talking to each other about games and having a laugh, having a good time together. And then one day it was just a case of, what it is, we talk about games anyway, we have fun, we could probably do this as a podcast. It's a case of just doing what we're doing now, like we're in a party chat, we're just doing it live with an audience. And the first couple of episodes is a bit strange because you get used to you're either talking to 1 or 2 people or nobody, and you gotta get, and then people start coming in, then you get a little bit flustered because you've got an audience for once, and you're like, oh, there's people there listening to it, and they're talking to it at the same time. And you're like, what?
How do I keep them entertained? Yeah. They're here.
Yeah. So what do I do? So you get a bit flustered at first, and eventually you start to calm, and and then you just go back to normal, and then it's as if there's just more people talking to you, but they're not on voice chat anymore. They're in your text chat. So you're kind of talking to them, even though you're not hearing them back. You can see the responses and have the banter to and fro with a chat, and then it's just it was a case of, because we were already doing it anyway, and I've been watching the likes of RDX and Iron Lords and things on YouTube, and Mr. Boomstick, and I've been watching them do their things in podcasts for a while. And I was like, what it is? I'm going to ask a few people, what do you use to do it? And what's the easiest way to get into it? And so I asked the questions, and they were like, oh, well, StreamYard's a good starting point. So start with StreamYard. That's a nice, easy one to go into. So we started on StreamYard. And obviously now we've migrated over, and and use OBS and have StreamYard as just the host, so just the lobby where people meet. But yeah, it's just insane. It's a case of just doing what we loved anyway, which is talking and playing games, and doing that essentially live. Instead of playing games, of course we still do that. We still do with community nights, which we love. There's a lot of people, of course, join us for community nights as well, and in which case that just becomes a big open podcast where everyone's playing games and talking games and having fun and having a laugh. And they last hours, 3, 4, 5 hours. But the podcast itself, yeah, it's just now a group of friends who always spoke about video games, doing that to a live audience. It just made sense, and it's grown and grown and grown since. So it's awesome. It's hard to keep going once you've got to a certain track. You need to kind of always better yourself and think of new things to do, and how am I going to improve on this? How am I going to keep the audience entertained long term? You don't think about these things when you're first starting. When you're first starting, it's just getting the audience. Let's get them in first. Let's grow our voices and get them in. Once you've got that section, you've got your core audience, which we've got now. We've got an awesome core community. It's then keeping them, and then trying to find ways of getting new people into that community. That's the harder part. It's once you've got your core ones, they're ride or dies. They stick with you all the way through. No matter what stuff you put on, you'll see them in every chat, and it's awesome. But then you've got the other ones that are a little bit more fickle, and you'll see them from time to time. They'll jump in one show and then you'll never see them again, or they'll subscribe to you and then they disappear, and then obviously your numbers go down the next month. You're like, okay, so they were like, once I've subscribed to someone, you're there forever. Like, I don't know who these people are that go onto things and purposefully unsubscribe from someone, because I'm still following things that I followed, like, subscribed to decades ago.
Right. Yeah. There'd be some stuff popping up and you're just like, who is this again? Forgot who this was. Or like, yeah, just stuff that you were into that you're not anymore, and it pops up and you're just like, get this out of here. But I wanted to throw a shout out to some of the folks in the chat that are putting in some work on the keyboards. I appreciate y'all. Sean said, credit to Wandering Dutch. I was never a social gamer until I met Dutch and his boys. Now I'm part of a community of awesome people. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
the stuff that I love.
Yeah, that's the reason that, like, we do this kind of stuff, is just to, like, bring people together, make them feel like, you know, one of us.
Yes,
Instead
exactly.
of saying, where's your credentials? Like, I don't give a damn about your credentials, man. Like, what is that going to do for me? I mean, you give me a resume of your games that you've done. I mean, I'm not going to give you a job. Like, I mean, like that's not doing anything for me. So it's really weird when I hear people bring up credentials and stuff like that, because I would hate to alienate somebody that maybe just now getting into gaming, and they could possibly be just a game slaughterer. Like they could be really good at games, but instead we're telling that person that's new, yo, you're not good enough yet. You don't have the paperwork to support what you're playing, or you didn't play the previous game. Why are you playing this one? Like, that's silly. That's just silly. And I'm not about that kind of stuff. But yeah, very good stuff from Steph Sean in there. Very good to hear. But going on into the next thing, I'm kind of wondering now, because you told me, you know, your love for consoles and everything like that, and your love for gaming in general. I'm wondering what's like a memorable moment within this time that you just found yourself just, I fell for gaming even harder when this happened.
Yeah. There's two key things. So one of them, I think the one time I was wooed in gaming was when Halo first came out, and we seen Halo on the stalls in like the tech shops, the OG Xbox just sitting there, and you had the Rumble Force feedback like controller, and you were just like, and then Halo on screen, force feedback, and the trigger, which was like never had that in a console before, and it was just like, whoa, like this is new, like what is going on here? And it was just like absolutely blown away by that. But then what cemented me in terms of gaming and what gaming can do, because even when I was on PC and playing a lot of PC games and things, still even then it was more text-based communication chat. So you'd like say maybe GG in the chat on the side to someone, but it wasn't really a community as such, like old school PC gaming. And unless you were in a community that had like a LAN gaming set up and you went and physically seen people, it wasn't really a thing. It wasn't really like a community type thing. But the first multiplayer thing that really grabbed me into gaming was when Gears came out. You know, played Gears online for the first time. And I spent
360.
Oh god, yeah. An unbelievably unhealthy amount of time on Gears 1, Gears 2 online. Unbelievably amount. Like I say, I used to play like duo matches. And sometimes we used to just end up going against like duo matches, and these like I say, we met these two guys, and they had pretty much similar gamer tags, but they were friends in real life, and it was me and my mate who were friends in real life against them. And then we kind of, after we'd played each other for quite a few rounds, we added each other and we're like, right, okay, well, we're going to be back here for a rematch tomorrow. Like that's it, it's on. And then it would just have like so much fun. And obviously you were using in-game chat as opposed to party chat. So obviously when it was between rounds, it was just you and your friend versus them two. And then in the breaks between rounds, you would hear each other and you'd be like, oh, come on, like I can't believe you just got us. And it was just so much fun. Like, and those were the ones that really grasped you and thought, this is what gaming's about. And it was fun gaming. It wasn't like we weren't throwing abuse at each other. It wasn't, because obviously we all know the Call of Duty lobbies back then were horrific. Like, and you needed some strong spines to stand up in the Call of Duty lobby. Like, there was some abuse going on there. It would be racial abuse, it would be sexual abuse, it would be like anything you can possibly imagine in the Call of Duty lobby. It was like people were throwing those insults.
Yeah.
But Gears, like I say, we got into it. We played a lot of games online on the Gears community, and it was just insane. It was so much fun. Met a lot of friends on that as well, and I think I've still got them online. I don't think they've been online for a long time though, but I've still got them on there. They're still there.
Wandering Dutch be keeping people around.
Oh yeah, too right. I don't discard people. They might disappear. Do you know what? It's one of them sad moments. The sad moments when you turn on, like, you have a look at the 360 avatars and it's like they're still asleep and they've never woke up.
That is a little depressing. It's like, oh man, like, because you just look at that profile and you're like, man, that takes me back.
Yeah, the good old days.
Wake up,
please.
So I'm guessing, yeah, straight up. So Gears of War, fond memory.
Yeah.
Fond memory. All right, so now we're going to move on to the little game that I like to play every episode. Without overthinking, I want you to tell me the first game that comes to mind when I say the name of the console.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're only going to do like 5 or 6 different ones. I don't want this game to drag on too long. But the first one I'm going to bring up is going to be kind of not too old, but not new. PlayStation 2.
Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X. Okay. All right. Let's go with the Xbox 360 other than Gears.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Damn you. Other than Gears. Dear me. I would say Halo then. Halo again.
Okay.
Halo
3,
2.
Or Halo. Wait, which one did I say? The 360?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they redid Halo 2.
Yeah.
So I guess yeah, that works. All right, so then the next one will be let's go back
Yep.
to the NES, the original.
The original, yes, Mario. Original Mario, Super Mario World.
All right, cool. And then I'm not sure if you've played it, but I'm gonna try Dreamcast.
Skies of Arcadia.
All right, let's go. That's good. That was a real good one. And let's do a couple more. Original Xbox.
Original Xbox again. It's always Halo.
God
always
dang it. God, I should have said without Halo, but I'm gonna move on. All right, and then GameCube.
Oh God, there's two games, and I want to shout them both out: Super Mario Sunshine and Star Fox Adventures. Star Fox Adventures was absolutely that needs a sequel. I don't know why they didn't make a sequel. Star Fox Adventures was brilliant. Love that game.
I don't understand the shade with Mario Sunshine people have. Like that game was fantastic. I loved it. I mean, it was really weird because you're using,
like a jetpack.
Yeah, water jet kind of thing. And I mean, I remember how bad Luigi's Mansion was.
Yeah.
But like it felt like a way better version than that because Luigi's Mansion was that awful like vacuum thing.
Yeah.
That I remember. And yeah, that just never caught on. It ended up kind of flopping. But let's do I'm gonna say two more.
Yeah.
One's gonna be a double one, which I do with every guest that I have on here. But the first one, before we get to that one, can I make things a little difficult?
Try. Let's go.
The Panasonic 3DO.
Oh, I didn't play it.
Okay, fair enough. How about the Sega CD?
Crazy Taxi, I do believe.
Nope, that was Dreamcast.
Ah. Was it not on the Sega CD as well?
Nuh-uh. Sega CD was before the Saturn.
And I don't think I played the Sega CD. I'm trying to think. It is a while back.
Not a lot of people have, to be honest. Yeah. Not a lot of people have. All right, so now I'm just going to go to the last one, straight up. I want you to give me one PS5 game and one Series X game that hasn't came out yet. What's the first games that you think of for each of those consoles?
God of War Ragnarok and Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga.
Ooh, yes, let's go Hellblade. I'm so excited for that. I'm excited for God of War, but I'm not that big. I'm not a diehard God of War fan. So
yeah.
but I beat Senua. I beat them both. I beat Senua Saga and also God of War as well. But I definitely got a little bit more immersed in the story with Senua, just for the fact that I felt like it was a little shorter. It was shorter, so it was just easier to consume compared to, dude, Ragnarok is long. I didn't remember some of the characters at the beginning of the game that I remembered at the end of the game, and some of the boss fights kind of went over my head after a little while. So but it was a lot of fun. Atreus was kind of annoying in parts of it, but still a good game, still a really good game, and it definitely deserves the rating that it got. I'm just critical because of the rating that it gets.
Yeah.
Whenever a game gets crazy high level, like Elden Ring, for instance, that game's a 97, right? But I think that game is ass when it comes to locking onto a target. It's just awful. Yeah. It is just awful. So even the best of the best have issues.
Yep.
Doesn't matter at all. But very good. So you answered those two. Now I'm kind of wondering what Wandering Dutch does not like to play, genre-wise. So if you were to pick a genre that you would easily walk by at Blockbuster, which one would it be?
It's an easy one, but it's also a strange one to a lot of people. So I I love watching animes, but I hate playing anime games.
Okay.
And in anime series, you can kind of put up with the really weird and strange dialogue you get in anime. Like some really wacky dialogue that you get between characters and some like storylines that are like, okay, this is just weird. But in video games, it's like ultra cringe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, nah, I just can't deal with that. Like, as much as I love JRPGs as well, I can't stand Dragon Quest because like the voice acting and everything in there is like, it's like if you play Dragon Quest 11, it's like ultra British, like too British. Like 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 you're talking like
I've never heard
what do you
anybody
call it? Like
complain
Oliver.
about somebody being too British.
It's like, yeah, but the go like Oliver Twist, like, you know, like really old like 1600s London type of um, like accent, and it's like that is not how anyone speaks over here anymore. And it's like oi up governor. I'm like, no, but don't talk like that, please. Stop. It's like ultra cringe.
This
But
is offensive.
yeah. No, but it's I think it's just sometimes I think on the, and it's really strange to say this, there's some Japanese games I can get away with, but then other Japanese games you think sometimes they're maybe a little bit disconnected from Western civilization to the point where they don't, like, the storylines and things are just really out there, like completely baffling. And I think we've seen that as well when if you have a look at the reviews and things for Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, the new one that's just come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a post by someone who put up a snippet of the game, and obviously he'd reviewed it, and he said, like, what is actually going on in this dialogue? And they're talking, and these set of characters are talking about how they've forgotten everything. And then she asks him a question. She's like, so, but who would do this kind of thing and steal our memories? And he's like, I don't know, I've forgotten. And that was the conversation. It was just about how everyone's forgotten everything, and that they don't know how they've forgotten or why they've forgotten. They just know they've forgotten. And that was it. I was like, this is a pointless conversation. Like, like everyone has amnesia, and apparently they just keep forgetting things. So I'm like, what is up with this storyline?
Jeez,
But this is like
advertising that. Now I want to play it. Now I'm just
yeah.
not at all.
Like, yeah, some Japanese games are just absolutely out there, and obviously each to their own. Everyone loves things and has their tastes and things like that. But I don't mind the TV series. You can take them in bite-sized chunks, and you're not on it for like 30, 40 hours. Like your episodes for anime is like 30 minutes long or something like that if you're pushing it. But yeah, I can't deal with like 30, 40 hour long Japanese anime games. It's just too cringe.
Well, like it's just like sometimes even in the shows, like the animation or the way that the scene is being presented doesn't match what is being said at all. So like and you hear this a lot of people from like the sub stands that only watch, anime subs. They're just like, you don't understand what really happened in this scene because you're watching it in English and stuff like that. Sometimes it's, shut up, whatever. And the other times it's actually like, it's the reality of it. You actually did miss what really happened, or you missed the feeling that you were supposed to feel in this specific scene because it was poorly translated.
Yeah.
So
poorly dubbed.
Yeah. So it happens a lot in anime games because the anime games, I feel like they don't work at all into the language in the games compared to what they do with TV shows and whatnot, where they're like, all right, well, we really need to break down this conversation and kind of figure out the Japanese version versus the English version. In video games, it seems like they try to take a shortcut.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't always look crispy at the end of the day, for sure. But very good. So those are the kind of games that you refuse to play. Now I want to go back into 2021, and I want you to tell me what the 3 best games that came out that year for you were, and then the best of them all.
Yes. It's thinking of what So the games that I'll go into the games I beat as opposed to games that came out, because I played a lot. So going into the new year of 2021, one of my most favorite that I finished in 2021, obviously started the new year because I think it came out tail end of 2020 and went into 2021. Cyberpunk 2077, loved that game, loved it to death. The Medium, I actually really loved The Medium. Loved the story of that. I thought, I've forgotten his name again now, the guy who played the demon in that, who was also in, I think he was in The Last of Us, or no, Uncharted, was it? The actor? Forgotten the name of him now.
I don't know. The only thing I really remember in The Medium, which I beat that game, but the thing I remember was that guy, the guy that you play as, not the woman, but the guy.
Yeah.
And that dude had a loose. That dude was just letting him have it. He was pissed, and that made the game so entertaining because I felt like sometimes the woman that you play as is a little soft-spoken and kind of dull and kind of waiting, and she's almost waiting for something bad to happen so then she can react to it, where the guy is just a foul-mouthed asshole and he just wants to kill everything. And I loved it. I loved that part. But I have no idea who played that part.
He was he's done. He's got a podcast. He's usually on with Alana Pierce.
I'm bad. I don't
I've forgotten his name as well. When you see him, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. But yeah, he plays the demon really well in that. But I just thought the atmosphere was really well done. The character building, the world building was tremendous. I loved the dual reality thing that they did, and I'm personally hoping for a sequel to it as well, because that ending specifically, it's like, well, what happened? Did he kill? Did he not kill? Like, is she alive? Is she not alive? What's going on here?
Yeah, just kind of at the dock, like.
Yeah. Like, game over. You hear the gunfire, but you don't know whether or not it happened. Troy Baker. Thank you, Sean.
Oh yes. Yeah, he was he was on Last of Us.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, so he was the demon in The Medium.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's the demon. He's the thing that follows you around the entire game trying to kill you.
That shit was that reminded me a lot of a game off of GameCube called Eternal Darkness.
Yes.
That game specifically used to scare the daylights out of me, because you'd walk into a room and all these NPCs would start walking after you, and you're trying to walk through, you're like running through the room because as soon as they touch you, you're done. But like, they will continue to follow you, and sometimes they'll follow you from room to room.
Yeah.
And like the terror that brought me as a young person at that time was fairly immense, especially for a game on GameCube.
Yep.
but GameCube actually surprised, like, believe it or not, GameCube actually had quite a bit of horror games. They were actually pretty into that, because the previous, consoles that they had, they were being known too much as like family and kiddie, I guess, compared to Sega and PlayStation, which was more of like the adult games.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I felt like they were trying to transition a little bit into that, because the GameCube, when it first came out, it was looked upon as being like really childish looking even. It had a handle on the back. The controller was just like, what the hell is this?
And they were using like tiny CDs and
yeah, just everything about it seemed like for a little person, for a little kid, not so much for an adult. So it was interesting seeing some of the titles that ended up being on the GameCube. Very interesting, for sure. Very good. So the 3 games that you had were Medium, and what'd you have?
Cyberpunk. So I would say Cyberpunk, but we'll take that out. The Medium, I would say Psychonauts 2, and last but not least, and what ended up being my game of the year, was It Takes Two.
That was your game of the year.
Yeah, It Takes Two.
Man,
absolutely loved that game.
Street fighting part in that game was pretty nuts. Where you did that,
and
like,
the Diablo
hurricane thing.
Yeah. And the Diablo part, I didn't expect them to go like top down, like Diablo-esque game where you can be a wizard and the other person's like a knight. Like,
it hit me right in the Gauntlet feels for the old school PlayStation.
Yeah.
I used to play the hell out of Gauntlet. Loved that game. And Dark Legacy and stuff like that. Those games were super duper fun. But yeah, It Takes Two had a bunch of little like parts of that game that were amazing. And it also had some really awkward it really played with your feelings, the way like you would feel awkward, you'd want to laugh, but you know it's not funny.
Yeah.
Kind of situations, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to spoil too much, but Elephant.
Yes.
All I'm gonna say is Elephant.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, dude. that was one of those moments. Like I'm not sure. Do you got kids?
No, thankfully I don't, but I can understand.
Okay. So yeah. So you already know, like, when a kid does something weird or naughty or like does something on accident and it's hilarious, but you can't show them that you're laughing. You're just like,
no.
Right, like you just want to die laughing inside, but you know it's wrong. That Elephant was one of those moments where I was just like, I'm doing this right now, and I don't want to do this, but the game's forcing me to do this.
even the vacuum at the beginning where you're like, and this at the very, very beginning of the game, but the vacuum at the beginning with the straight into his eye sockets, you're like, yeah, this is brutal.
Man. Yeah, because the game introduces like you as like, you know, a rough couple that, you know, and there's a nice soft kid and everybody has like a somewhat kind of peaceful voice, even though, I mean, they're mad at each other, but everything seems kind of peaceful. And then the vacuum, you know, you put the vacuum up to the homeboy's eye and you're like, whoa, that was a dark twist.
Yeah.
That was a really like what's next? This is fucked.
Yeah, definitely. But that entire game though just caught me by surprise, and I'm definitely going to be playing through it again at some point. It's because every level was different, and you never had the same mechanics, and you always had different abilities, and like it always changed up, and you were doing something new all the time, and it always looked different because you were in different areas. And the story was interesting, and the characters were well played, and the music was great, and just the entire thing was just so well crafted from start to finish. It deserved Game of the Year, and obviously won in the end, but it very much deserved it. And I didn't think that after playing, because Psychonauts was also tremendous from start to finish. Absolutely loved that, and that was my Game of the Year until very late last year. And I was doing a charity stream, and me and General C literally throughout on a 24-hour charity stream said, right, we're going to play It Takes Two from start to finish through that stream. And we played, I think we managed to get up to like 2 levels from the end throughout that 24 hours because we were playing a few other games in there as well. Mm-hmm. But we played probably about 9 hours worth of It Takes Two on that stream. Long. Yeah, it's about 12. I think it's a 12-hour game in total. So I think we got about 9.5 hours worth of the game or something done on it. But just absolutely loved it and didn't really want to come off it. But we'd already had a schedule of games we were playing throughout the stream, so we're just like, right, okay, it's time to play this other stuff, even though we kind of want to just continue playing this. It's just such a great game. Honestly, I can't fault it. To be honest, there was nothing there that I can fault, and the fact that you don't even need to own the game to have someone else co-op it with you is even better. You can obviously they've got that buddy pass system where if you own the game, your friend can play it,
Yeah,
even if he doesn't have it. It's just such a great thing to do, and I think more people need to do that. Granted, they don't get achievements, but at least they can play the game, and that's really what it's all about.
I tell you, Wandering. I'm very similar to you in the sense of like I really like socially gaming. Like
Yeah,
gaming with other people is really enjoyable, and I was really enamored back when what's that game? No, a Way Out came out.
yeah,
Made by the same people, Hazellight. Really good game, kind of dull. It had its kind of dull like looks. Like it didn't seem like it was like funded crazy much,
yeah,
but like the mechanics, the story, the I can't beat this without you, buddy, feeling that you got in that game was freaking dope, right?
yeah,
Now, moving to It Takes Two, it was like a whole new level of dope because not only am I playing with another person, but now everything's fictional. Everything isn't so real, and like I don't feel like I have to feel bad for this character as much, even though there is kind of that feelings that tugs on you in that game, but it's more of a fun kind of feeling
yeah,
and not kind of like if you made your way to the end of A Way Out, you're just like, bro, at the end, you're just like,
yeah.
why, why? But on It Takes Two, it doesn't build you up to feel that way. It builds you up to feel like, there has
The
to be
feel good
some,
game in the end, yeah, it's a really good
yeah,
feel good game.
yeah, exactly. So it was really cool to do that and have to have or have to play with another person to make that happen. Me specifically, I bought it for my PS5 because it was one of the early games that I wanted to get for it because I wanted to try the DualSense with it and everything.
Yeah,
And me and my lady beat that game together, and it was fantastic. It was probably one
yeah,
of the better experiences I've ever had playing with her. That wasn't a multiplayer game. It
yeah,
like multiplayer like Halo or something like that.
yeah,
'Cause she likes Halo. She likes Ark Survival Evolved and a lot of other multiplayer things. But like this one, we actually played offline, sat on the couch together, chilling, and we're sitting there like comparing our marriage, and it's weird, like I
yeah,
mean, you do those kind of things when you have the opportunity to play a game like that, and yeah, top notch. It definitely deserved Game of the Year, and I'm happy you chose it for that.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Like I say, there was just so much that was right with it, and like I say, to me it felt like you were just playing like a full high budget like Pixar film. That's the best way I can put it. Just like a really big high budget Disney slash Pixar animated film that you can actually sit and play with it, like a really well crafted story and really great characters and such imaginative things to go through, like when you're going against the squirrels in the tree and they start getting their army against you because you steal their plane, and and then you've got all these little mini games you can play against each other throughout that you don't have to play, but they're quite fun to play against, and trying to beat each other in all these little mini games and things. And it was just so much to that game. Loved it.
Yeah, me and my lady probably played that skating one where you got to go in the big circle and you hit the boost and stuff like that. We probably played that one like 15, 20 times. She was trying to get your boy, but she just couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. Sorry, babe. But anyways, now I want to know the most exciting game, which we're getting towards the end of the show, but I want to know what's the most exciting game for the rest of this year for you?
Ooh, now That's a good one. So
You know what? I'm gonna take one off the table. Starfield.
go on.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about fine. That's no problem. Then if that's the case, then following tonight's showing of Hogwarts Legacy, I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Like, I was relatively looking forward to Hogwarts when they announced it and showed it. I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. It's like, so it's set outside of the Harry Potter realm. It's got nothing to do with him or Voldemort or anything like that. It's you craft your own wizard and go into it and in a different world. And then they said, oh no, it's like hundreds of years beforehand. It's like 1600s or something like this. It's like well before all of those even existed or even thought about. And it's this is the game, and they showed a very little trailer. And I was thinking, okay, that'll be cool. And then seeing it today, when they showed off in the State of Play, that is such a well-crafted game. There is a lot, like so much detail. The world is huge. Obviously, you can fly about on your broomstick. You can do loads of spells. You've got crafting sections. You can wear different items, get companions and beasts, and there's a lot, much more than I ever anticipated them putting into that game. They've put a lot of work into it. That is probably, if it's not Starfield, which has been taken off the table, then Hogwarts Legacy is now second. Until I see what Redfall is properly, which is still meant to be coming out this summer, apparently. And I'm still unsure about Ragnarok, whether or not it's going to make this year, because we still don't have a release date for that. So the one that we know is coming out this holiday, Hogwarts, that isn't Starfield. Yeah, Hogwarts.
Fair enough. All right, now I'm gonna have you go to the past just one more time for me. All right?
Yeah.
And I want you to take 2 games from the past and bring them to now. What would be those 2 games that you would give a AAA, love down with?
Yeah. It's pretty easy for me, actually. Even though I don't know how a AAA would work on one of them, but you'll understand when I say it. So one of them is Monkey Island. I loved the Monkey Island games. So Tim Schafer's original, it's like point and click adventures, but it's comedy. Absolutely awesome games, really awesome. They were all PC games, of course. It did go onto Xbox. I think they did like a remastered version of one of the Monkey Islands, where you could switch between the old school graphics and the new kind of remastered graphics via a click of a button. But it's more just like a point and click adventure. But it was the comedy and the artwork and things behind it and the story. It was funny, really good, but it was adult humor. It wasn't really, if you're a kid, you might have laughed at some of the silly little jokes, but a lot of the humor in that game was geared very much to adults. And you wouldn't have really understood it as a kid, but when you listen to it now, you think, oh God, that's funny. And the other one is a Game Boy Advanced game called Golden Sun, which is a JRPG.
I've heard of that one. I haven't played it, but I've heard that one.
Yeah, phenomenal game. And I don't know what, essentially it was one of their kind of new IPs that they brought out. They had it around for a little bit. They had 2 games of it and then just ditched it entirely. But it was like, it was basically the Game Boy Advanced version and better looking than like Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8. It was like really high quality, like all the summons and like the artwork and all the different kind of how do we say the special effects and things for the magic and stuff that you do. It was like for Game Boy Advance, it was like really high polished. So I would bring that series back, give it the AAA boost on the hardest like Switch that you've got, the best Switch you've got. Give it the best polish you can bring. Yeah. really give it a boost. Really give it a boost. It deserves it. It is their essential Final Fantasy franchise. It is their own. and I don't know why they didn't continue with it because it was really good.
I don't know, man. Maybe they just didn't want anybody button up with any of those Final Fantasies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Everyone has their reasons, and we never really know what's going on behind the scenes, especially
yeah.
that far long ago. All right, so gotta ask this question: what frustrates you about gaming in general? Saucy question.
The answer's a double-edged sword. So what frustrates me is also what I love, and that is the community.
I feel
So
that.
my community, the community that I've built, and the people that I know within my community are awesome. But then there is people within the gaming community as a whole that are not. And there's like segregations and diehard groups of certain, whether that be certain games or certain consoles, whatever it is. There's like little segregated things where if you say a little word bad about it or discredit that game in any way, shape, or form, you're like death threats upon your head, be it. And it's like, it's gaming, like it is not that serious. Like, calm down, like chill out. It's meant to be fun. We're meant to be like having fun together. But even if you have a look at the way, like, if you see anything bad about Elden Ring on Twitter, you guarantee someone will be at your throat within minutes. It's not bad. You're just gonna have to get good. Like, well, no, this definitely needs fixed. No, you just get good. No, this is literally broken. No, get good. I'm like, what? Okay, this isn't a conversation anymore. It's just like a rabid fanboy.
Yep.
That is the key thing. The thing that frustrates me the most, as much as I also love it, my community is awesome. Some people within the wider gaming community are not. That it's as easy put as that. There's still a lot of people that try to, and if we have a look at it in general, there's still a lot of racism issues, still a lot of sexism issues, still a lot of sexuality issues where people hate people depending on their sexuality or whatever. You get that a lot in online gaming chats and things like that, and all that stuff just needs to disappear. Like, we're not 15, 20 years ago when we're back on the old Call of Duty servers anymore. Like, that's a thing of the past. Like, a lot of people are far more tolerant of different people's beliefs, and people are a little bit more educated, a little bit more grounded. And you just can't say some of certain things, and yeah, you can't always be nicey about everything. Sometimes you have to be straight to the point and say, listen, X, Y, and Z. But also, you don't directly go and insult someone because they don't agree with you, like that type of stuff. Or don't insult someone because, for instance, they're a female playing a shooting game, or they're a male playing some other kind of game, whatever it is. Like, segregating people and depending on the skin color, you can't have this. Or when someone's trying to point out, like they said in Elden Ring, there was a little debate there saying like the hairdos in Elden Ring for like people of color is terrible.
It is.
Like,
it's awful.
shocking. And then people like underneath just saying, oh, well, it's just a character creator. Like, what you're moaning about? I'm like, well, you don't understand this because you're a white guy. There's a lot of white guy hairdos.
There is, yeah. That's pretty much all they are. I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then obviously people of color, and I can't speak out about it, but I can speak up for it and say, listen, I agree. Like, at least give them a few more options. Like, I'm the same with beards. As soon as I go into a character creator screen and there's no decent beards, I'm like, really? Like, it's 2021. Come on, 2022 now. We still don't have proper beards.
Yeah, and if you're thinking of that as something as minute as that, then of course there's going to be a large amount of people that are frustrated for that same reason, but an even bigger amount of people that are frustrated over, them not being able to identify
as themselves. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is a big issue. Let them. And again, I go into this is these Japanese studios, so maybe it's their disconnection with the West and things like that. But it is a big thing. It is a big thing for them, and I don't. It needs to be brought to light, and people need to say, listen, like at least give us a few more options. Like we've got these white. Like, have you ever seen like a person of color with a white dude hairdo? Like it just doesn't look right.
It really.
Just
I mean,
straight hair.
I mean, it looks right if you want it like that.
Yeah.
But if your intention was to make somebody that like I'm making a
Looks
character
like
that
you.
looks like me, I got like a little fro going on, right? I'm forced to have now straight hair in that game. It doesn't like drive me insane because I'm always wearing a helmet and stuff anyways. But like it would have been a nice touch. It would have been a nice touch. It would have showed me that they care and they're listening. But instead it's like, what are we still in the 90s or what? like
yeah, exactly.
Like for me it's like you didn't forget to put this in the game. You just didn't want to deal with it, or you didn't want to do it, or something like that. Like there was time, and I understand like building games and putting stuff together is not easy by any chance. But if you're willing to put in 20 different hairstyles, can just at least 2 of them be something that I can identify with?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
But even like a little fro and a big fro, or several different like types of like a fade fro or something. Just there's a lot of different shapes and things you can do with it that they could have easily put in. Things that are very iconic to people of color in terms of their hairstyles, let alone the female side of things, because God, that can go on forever. Even the thing is specifically because obviously we've got large African communities over here as well, and they've got their own, as you know, very well know over there. It's exactly the same. The wig shops for people of color and the women. Like they have so many different wigs that they put on, different styles and things like that all the time. So people of color community in terms of their hairstyles and the wigs and things that they choose from and their style, it's very much a style type of thing, as well as just like for me, obviously I chose to shave it off, get rid of it. It's not a big deal for me, so I'm good that side. But this side, like I can understand the frustration for the people of color when it comes to their hairdos, because I can't even get a beard. Like I can't even get a beard in game, let alone get your hairdos right. And your hairdo's far more important than putting a beard on someone's face.
Right. So, yeah, it's just it's always just something that's kind of just weird to talk about, but needs to be addressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you look at the time that we're living in right now, and it's just like to not do something as minuscule as that is just like alienating certain people, because there's a lot more people that have, or there are a lot more people that are out there willing to express the way that they feel about, something that we may call small, they may call game changing. To be able to like really feel and want to move on to this character, instead of putting in an hour or 2 into the game. Now they're invested and they want to put in they want 100% the game because this is me in the game. You know what I'm saying? Just like building a character in a football game back in the day or something, you could make him look exactly like you, almost. Within graphical aspects.
Well, say that even
but close.
You might remember in like I think they did it in EA, like a lot of the old FIFA games as well, quite a few years back now. But they did something called Game Face, where you used to be able to scan your face into the game.
Yeah, on like 2K
Remember
and stuff
that?
like that. Yeah. You would like hold still and like the game. You hold super still, right?
Yeah.
And then like it was super weird. Like your Connect or something like that would like. Yeah. Catch your face and then reprint it onto the game, and I thought that was creepy and so cool.
Because it literally put you in the game as the character. It was you in the camp, like as in the career mode, and then they took it away. Mm-hmm. Like you couldn't even go on the website and upload a picture anymore. You couldn't do nothing. They just said, "No, we're just going to get rid of it." I'm like, but that was that was me being able to be me in that game. It wasn't just me trying to fiddle around with the character creator until it looked kind of like me. I mean,
Facts.
that's the type of thing I think they should bring back for character creators, is the ability to use a camera to scan your face in or upload your face into the website so they can do this remodeling thing and then put your face on the character's face, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Just let me upload, like if I wish to upload my face, let me upload it to Xbox, and then whenever I play a game, you just ask me if I want to use it.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to do that for every single game. You can just implement that like direct. You can just implement that direct connection with every single game and say, hey, this game comes with facial recognition, and your facial recognition app will just provide the same face that you want to use for each game that you want to play it on, which would be super dope. But let's move on.
Yes.
Now we're on the opposite side. We got about like 3 questions left. This is one of them. What's a dream come true for you in gaming? Opposite of the last question.
Ooh, dream come true. That's a good one. You know, that's actually quite a difficult one. I think it's hard. It's really hard to say what a dream come true is, because technology is always advancing. I'm very much tech minded, and what things can be done and what things can't be done. So really, it's a case of, I think dream come true for me would be to a point where we don't have to worry about limitations of the hardware. Games are extremely, in terms of games, they're like ultra realistic, and VR is at the point where it isn't something that you is like this big monstrosity helmet that you have to plug on to kind of get yourself immersed into the game. It's something
you just
that
want a
is
pair
like
of pit vipers and call it a day.
Yeah, just like a little, like just some little, like some shades that kind of cover just your eyes, like more like goggles than it is like a full-on VR headset. Like some nice, like comfortable goggles that covers your eyes that are like absolutely seamless. Like we're talking like 120 frames, 8K, 16K, whatever it is. So it's like ultra sharp images that are like, you wouldn't tell the difference from what is in front of your face to what is on screen. That type of hyper realism, that type of stuff where it's all immersed, where in terms of kind of the senses. So it could be the fact that a bit like when you get in the IMAX 4D cinemas, where you get like wind blowing up when you're going like down a roller coaster or something like that, or it feels like it blows like a little bit of mist, so it feels a little bit wet when it's not. That type of stuff. Have you ever been on like a 4D, like in a 4D cinema before?
Yeah, I went to a Terminator one in I want to say it was Universal Studios. And I sat down and I had the 4D goggles on, and like the Terminator's head kind of started coming all out of the screen because I was wearing 3D goggles, and then like he got like cut or something happened, and he just started spewing, and like I got hit in the face with like some like water or whatever the hell that stuff was. But I was just like, what the hell is going on? But it was dope, man. It was pretty cool once I figured out that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I thought somebody spilled something on me at first. I was just like, what the hell?
But even just little things like that, you know, like obviously you can just build them up. Like they've got these, if you have a look at them now, they've got these like suits with these with like speakers in. So, and you can obviously wear them like a bit like a more like a vest type of thing, and they've got speakers in certain locations, and if you get shot, that it gives you like a little like a thump with the speaker, so it feels like you get shot. It's that type of stuff, like this immersive, like truly immersive stuff that you can do to really sink you into a game. And I think VR when we're talking distant future, the dream is VR is going to be that point where it's so hyper realistic that you could put on the game and not really differentiate between the game and real life. And things like racing games will become like so much more involved. Things like even flying games, talking sports games. When you're watching like your sports game, and even though you'll be playing it, it'll be feeling like you're in the stadium as opposed to just kind of watching the TV playing a sports game. You'll feel the crowd and think the crowd are around you shouting at the people on the thing, and that's the type of the realism and the immersion that I want to see happen. And we're still, I think, quite a way away from that. But that's where I think it could go. And I think the more technology pushes on and the capabilities of the systems that we get start to push on, that type of stuff and the restrictions behind having that much immersion will start to lift and lift and lift to the point where we'll get that.
Yeah, man,
That's the dream.
that sounds incredible and a great dream. And I asked you for a dream, and you gave me a list, bruh. You gave me a list, and I appreciate it. That was really cool. Has me thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of stuff. So what does Wandering Dutch enjoy doing outside of gaming?
Yeah. So, outside of gaming, I love obviously love binge watching TV series. Obviously, I am a very big fan of horror films. Love horror series. Love anything kind of paranormal or creepy, anything like that. I love art. So even though if I'm not playing games, I might be doing something regarding game consoles or controllers. So I might be designing custom controllers. I might be painting custom consoles. Might be doing something like that. So obviously I've got a Fable Series S. I've got a Hellblade Senua Saga Series X. I've got a custom had a custom 1X Gears edition that I made myself. I've got a custom PlayStation 4 Pro with LED lights and things built into it that I did myself. So the artwork side of things. And then more on the opposite side, love going for walks and talking like long hikes, real hikes, and air rifle shooting as well. Love going shooting.
Shooting's fun. Now, I'm wondering, Mr. Dutch, what's something that somebody would literally just look at you and say, I had no idea you did that?
So you'd never, no one would guess that. You'd probably do a couple of things, to be honest. Two things. One, when I was younger, I used to do gymnastics. You would never have thought that.
No,
yep.
You got me. Done. I didn't know Dutch was doing backflips.
Yeah. That followed on. Did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for quite a while. And then one of my other careers, a Royal Marine.
What's that?
A Royal Marine.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed any of the above. So fantastic on hiding who you really are. You're good. So where did you get the name Wandering Dutch?
Yes. So I love traveling. It got to a point a few years back as well where I had probably and this is in terms of holidays and going different places, not because of work. In 1 year went on 9 holidays. The year before that it was 5. Year after that 4. It was a case of I literally love traveling, like anywhere, everywhere. I've been to the US numerous times now, different parts of Mexico, quite a lot of times over to Egypt, pretty much everywhere in Europe. The only place I haven't been is Africa or Asia as yet. But I really want to kind of tick them off the bucket list as well, but all over the Caribbean. I just love traveling. And of course, Dutch being my original birthplace. Obviously, the Netherlands. So I'm from just outside of Amsterdam originally in a place called Haarlem. So wandering, as in wandering around the world, going and traveling, etc., and Dutch being where I'm from.
See, I kind of put the two together at first because I was like, obviously, he likes going places and he's Dutch. But I kind of wanted to know the reason behind it. So it's kind of nice to know that. You really enjoy traveling. And, I mean, obviously, where you're from and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any questions for me, brother?
Yeah, what got you into gaming?
What got me into gaming? Oh man, so that's a long time ago. What got me into gaming was probably at first being because I was always really big into sports. My brother played football for Notre Dame at the time, so he's going to college there. I enjoyed, when you're young, you want to be like your older sibling, right? You want to be able to connect with them like that. And video games were the only way I could do that. So he is playing for Notre Dame, and I was playing. I mean, he obviously wasn't in the NFL, but I was playing NFL Madden.
Yeah.
And so something that I really enjoyed doing was playing that game with my brother and constantly competing and trying to beat him so I could feel like I was better at football than he was, even though that's clearly not true. But it felt like I know more about what I'm doing in these plays and stuff than you do, and you go to practice all the time and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But as I got older and started playing on the PlayStation and stuff like that, I actually, because the PlayStation was out or was just coming out as I was playing Sega and stuff like that, because that was now the kids' console, because the stepdad got the PlayStation and that was now the adult console in the house. So when I had the chance to play PlayStation, I was playing, a lot of sports games as well, because we were a sports family, playing Game Day and Game Breaker and stuff like that. My brother happened to be in the Game Breaker as one of the players. Obviously, you can't have your actual name in the game because you're in college and stuff like that. But like, I could see his number and his person was lined up where he was lined up in real life. So I thought that was just really cool that I could play as somebody I know, which happens to be my own brother. So that really got me into it. But also, flat out Sega just got me into gaming, just because it was so cool at the time for me. Because like I said, that was the kids' console at the time, and I was the kid. And Road Rash was also another big game that I totally got immersed in, because as you pointed out earlier, there were no saves in games back then. But Road Rash had passwords. So all you had to do is go get a piece of paper and a pencil and write down like a 12-digit password.
Yeah.
And then when you turn off the console, you could come back to it. So that was my very first game that I could have saves in, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
Right. So, oh man, I was lost into that game, because not only did it have saves, but it also had the really cool aspect of riding motorcycles and hitting people with chains and nightclubs or whatever you want to call them, or and sticks and stuff like that. And like, you felt like a badass hitting the cop off of his bike and stuff like that. And at the end of the race, if you won, there'd be one person that was an asshole that was like trying to tell you how trash you are and that you weren't really good enough, and I'll beat you the next race and stuff like that. And it got you amped up for the next race, because you're like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass again. So that game probably had me sitting down playing video games the longest at first. But what initially got me into gaming was sports titles.
Yeah.
Sports titles for sure. Any other questions?
Top 3 games of all time.
Ooh, you did that to me. That's painful. So Ark Survival Evolved.
Okay.
Believe it or not a lot of people enjoy playing that game, but I spent over 170 days into that game.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. Let's see. Another one would probably be Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Just due to the sheer amount of time that I put in cheat codes and continued to play that game and loved it. Now, San Andreas was a better game, but Vice City has my heart. Is what it is. And then the third game is probably gonna have to be Road Rash, because I feel like without Road Rash, I wouldn't really be as much into games.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just because it was kind of it was rowdy. It was a rowdy ass game, and I was a rowdy ass kid, and it just felt so good to get out of school and go hit people off of motorcycles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game will forever be cemented in my heart. But yeah, man, that's it. Any other questions?
Favorite console of all time?
Oh, you're doing this to me.
Yeah.
You are
giving you the difficult ones.
Yeah, you're listing out them questions. It's the OG Xbox.
Yes.
The original Xbox is my favorite console of all time because I was really big in playing music and listening to games and playing video games at the same time. I was the weird child that used to take his original PlayStation, and you had the component output that you could, you know, yellow, red, white. I'd plug the yellow and red in from the video game console, and then take the stereo auxiliary and plug the white into the TV. So I'd be able to hear on the left the game and on the right my music, right? Well, when I went over to a buddy's house, he was playing Halo, and he was trying to convince me to get an Xbox, because at the time I had a PlayStation 2. And I was just like, dude, I'm not getting an Xbox. Like, it is what it is. And he was like, but Halo is dope. And I was like, you're right, Halo is dope. But I'm not going to go get a whole console for Halo. Like, I'm good. And, you know, I'm a kid, so I can't just, you know, go to work real quick and pick up a console or something like that. But when he brought me over to his crib and we were playing Halo for a little bit, and he noticed I was over that wasn't going to sell me on it. He put in this game called Conflict Desert Storm. It's a war game that's third person, and we are running through the sand going into our first mission. And we had just got done. We had just started the game, started running through the sand, and he hits the pause button, and he looked over and he's like, "Watch this." And I was like, "Why are you hitting the pause button? We literally just started the game." He goes to the audio menu and switches from game music to like a hard drive music or whatever.
Yeah.
And bro, running around Baghdad listening to Tupac was something else. That was something else. Like, I was just like, bro, this CD just came out, and you don't have anything plugged in weird, like, because at my house, like I said, game volume was on one side and the music was on the other side. I could distinctly hear the difference, and sometimes I'd miss certain sounds from the video game, or I'd miss certain sounds from the song, so the songs would sound weird sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But when I seen all that integrated, and I was like, bro, how are you doing this? And he was like,
yeah,
it's the Xbox. I was like, but there is a game in there. like how are you doing this? And he's like, well, there's a hard drive in the Xbox that you can store all the games on, just like your computer at home. Because I was that kid back in the day downloading stuff off of off of Morpheus and LimeWire and whatnot. So I had, viruses like crazy on my computer, but at the same time, I had my own storage of music that I'd use to burn CDs and listen to them and all that jazz. When he put a burnt CD into his Xbox, I about lost my damn mind. Cause I was like, how is it able to read burn discs? Because I have some CD players that don't even read CDRs. And he was like, well, the original Xbox actually doesn't read CDRs, but the newer kind of version that kind of came out a little bit later enabled that, so you can actually burn CDR music onto your Xbox. And I was throwing my money. I was like, let's go. Like, get this PlayStation out of my house. This thing is old. And I feel like when we look back and we see that the PlayStation 2 was like the most sold console, like the greatest console of all time, I'm just like, y'all slept on the Xbox. Y'all completely slept on the Xbox, because that technology in that console was freaking insane. To do that, to do what it could do, you could play with different consoles, Halo, playing with other consoles before Xbox Live. You got introduced to Xbox Live on it. You got, and you didn't have to add any extra stuff. It was already in the box. Like for the PlayStation 2, you had to get the adapter to play online.
Adapter,
You had to get a memory card for your PlayStation. You accidentally have somebody walk in the room and kick over and hit your controller string, and then knock your PlayStation 2 off the top of the TV.
Yeah.
But the Xbox had that like quick release thing on it.
Yeah.
To where somebody accidentally steps on it. Yeah, it has that safety release, and that big ass box was heavy. That thing ain't moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that safety release came out, and it was good to go, man. It was just like, dang. Plug it back in, good to go, but it didn't scuff or mess up the actual part that plugs into the Xbox, because that was also kind of nice, because it was another piece in case your controller breaks. Well, I got a spare piece now.
Yeah.
So there was just so many cool things about the original Xbox that I think a lot of people look over now, especially when we have all these crazy systems that we got. They look back and they say, oh, the PlayStation 2 was the banger. The thing is the PlayStation 2 just had most of the games. They had all of the games. I feel like if the Xbox had all the same games, it would have been goated. It would have been goated, because, I mean, turning on NFL 2K5 and being able to hear my own music that I put on the console, and then, like, I do a running play, the music cuts on, and then I go to and I hurry up my offense. The music slowly cuts out, like it's integrated into the game already. So that kind of touch, that kind of touch in video game hit me directly in the heart.
Yeah.
Man, you got me on a tangent. I'm over here. All right, well, we need to stop right there. You need to get your ass to bed. We almost been doing this for 2 hours. I want you to describe gaming in 3 words for me before we leave.
Creative, fun, memorable.
All right, creative, fun, and memorable. Fantastic. Fairly simple answer, but you don't need a difficult one, especially when it comes to gaming. Thank you, everybody that came by to watch me and Wandering Dutch on Behind Them Sticks. Check me back on Tuesday. It is gonna be Beasts of Truth on Tuesday. So make sure you come back. Definitely check it out. Meet some more people in the gaming world. This is a safe space that I like to try to bring together, where we can all just have